Hello and welcome to your weekly aircraft global market update. It's Friday, September 29th, 2023, and we've got a lot of changes to go over with you in the aircraft used sales market this week. If you like these videos, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share these videos. We'd like to build a community of owners and pilots, facilitating data with one another so that we can make informed decisions when buying and selling aircraft. News and overall sentiment over the last week has certainly changed a little bit for the worse here. Americans' view of the economy has worsened according to a recent Gallup poll released early this morning. American savings to be depleted by the end of the third quarter from the pandemic era. And this is in concert with other articles stating that Americans' credit card debt is the highest it's ever been. So no savings, high credit card debt. And then we see world economies such as Germany and China starting to enter their own recessions. We're seeing news articles come out about China that they've overproduced homes and may have more homes than they have people, in trying to keep their economy afloat for the past couple of decades, and it's catching up with them. Take a look at the inventory of aircraft this week. We're breaking more records, more aircraft than I've ever seen on Controller, watching Controller for decades. And again, this is an opinion video that we do every week, kind of reacting to the market, giving our opinions of where aircraft should be in terms of valuations. And in light of that, as I said, we broke some records, 4,866 aircraft, most we've ever seen. Let's start with single engines in the top. 172s look like maybe a couple of those have sold. That's a big enough delta that I might think we actually have some movement there. 182s not moving. Cirrus SR22s, the highlight of the video this week. SR22s and Vision jets not moving, stagnant, increasing in inventory. 304 Cirrus SR22s on the market this week. I don't know how you differentiate your aircraft if you're trying to sell one of these. I don't even know how buyers sort through 304 aircraft trying to decide which one to buy. I know there's some difference between normally aspirated and turbocharged and whatnot, but still largely very similar model to one another. It's a lot of aircraft. 11 Corvallises, the Cessna TTX, that market's kind of stagnant. Meridians right around 30. Maybe we sold some Meridians. 5 is, again, a large enough difference. And 35 aircraft down to 30 that maybe some moved, maybe one moved, maybe a few listings expired. We'll find out in the weeks to come. TBM's not moving at all, just sitting right around 40, 41, 42. Moving on to helicopters. Raven 2s, 64 on the market this week. Robinson 66s ticking up to 41. Bell 505s, 17, growing in inventory, not moving at all. This was a $1 million helicopter when they first released it, and it was an entry-level turbine aircraft helicopter. And now that it's nearly a $2 million helicopter, at least that's what people are trying to sell these for, it makes sense they're having a tough time selling them. This is the wrong kind of market. I don't think that demographic exists. $2 million, folks want a 407, but take a look at that market. That's not even moving. 407s ticked up this week to 24. Augusta 109 Grand News up to 21 on the market, heavily saturated. Bell 429s holding the single digits right around 7 to 8, just bordering healthy and unhealthy in our humble opinion, but not much moving. The premiums they're asking for those 429s right now are more than they are worth in our opinion. Vision jets, like we said, holding right around 30. That's an awful lot of single engine jets that are selling between $2 and $3 million. Does that market exist? I don't know. That is a very high price for the capabilities of that jet. Citation Mustangs holding right around 17, 16, 17, stagnant, not moving. Phenom 100s just holding right around 26, 27, 28. Honda jets upticking to 26. Why do we think more Honda jets are coming onto the market? Well, they're starting to release the Elite 2s. The Elite 2s have auto land and auto throttles. And so I think there are going to be a lot of owners that are going to try to move their older aircraft as they pick up their slots, their positions in the new releases. But are there going to be any buyers waiting in line for the Honda jets? There have not been in recent months. We don't anticipate that changing. And so what we see here is an uptick in that market inventory as well. Citation M2s holding right in the high teens at about 17, not much movement there either. That market still remains to be one of the only markets you can get an okay price on an aircraft right now. I don't think there's any deals yet, but maybe things are starting to happen. You're going to see in this video, we've got several price reductions this week. The first time we've seen multiple reductions in the same aircraft category. So we think that's healthy. We think that's where the market needs to go, and it's where it is going. CJ3 Plus is 13, uptick just over a dozen. That market stagnant, not moving much. And we saw a relist this week from last week. CJ4's 14. That market is not really moving. And Phenom 300's low 20s. That market is not moving either. What you see here is inventory growing and growing and growing, over 400 aircraft in just a couple of months. And like I said, more than we've ever seen for sale. We think this is signs of what is to come. And that is a much needed reset on pricing. Inflation has hit all of these things really hard. And buyers went crazy and started selling things for high prices, and sellers went crazy paying for high prices. There needs to be a reset on that. And what's going to happen in a future world with all these airline pilots getting 40% pay raises? California just approved a proposition to pay fast food workers, I think, over $20 an hour to flip burgers. If we have these union companies continuing to do that, we're either going to have mass layoffs, those companies are going to go out of business, or inflation is going to be baked in and here to stay. I hope for all of us that is not the case, because inflation is nothing other than wealth erosion. All right, here's a graph of the jet inventory. You can see Cirrus Vision jets just kind of holding in the 30s for a while. Phenom 100s ticking up, Honda jets ticking up, and Phenom 300s ticking up. Everything else pretty much flatline. Helicopter inventory. The Robinson 66 is moving back up again. And the Augusta 109 and Bell 407 ticking up, along with the Raven 2 just kind of holding right around 64. Single engine inventory, we now have 304 Cirrus SR22s on the market, unlike anything I've ever seen before. All right, and then this is our valuation calculator. This is our transparent pricing of how we look at aircraft values and our opinion on what aircraft value should be. We'll go over this first slide. The top ones in blue are the new prices from our research that these aircraft sold for new in those various years. And the bottom chart shows you how we depreciate our aircraft to find a value for it. And as an example, a Mustang here, we believe loses about $300,000 in value a year just from sheer depreciation, plus $150 per flight hour, until it reaches about 65% of its original purchase price. And at that point, if it's over $3,000, it gets another reduction. If it has historically been hard to sell, in our opinions, and we think Mustangs and CJ4s and Honda jets are historically hard to resell, it gets another 10% downward adjustment as a toxic asset, what we call a toxic asset. And that's how we come up with the values. We believe we're pretty accurate. We'll show you why in the videos to come here. This is from our own buying and selling of aircraft, and being parts of teams that have bought and sold aircraft. A lot of experience here, a lot of communications, and hopefully over time from you, our viewers, will have even more data to bake into here and dial in these numbers even more. So share with us in the comments, send us an email. What are you willing to pay for an aircraft? What have you paid for an aircraft? Let us get the data and provide that to the rest of the world so we can create that much needed return to normalcy in aircraft pricing. Okay, so this page has 110% inflation adjustment, and all these aircraft on this page we've based at 500 hours. This circle in red is going to be the only thing that changes on the subsequent slide. The reason we had to add an inflation adjustment is after the pandemic, that straight line depreciation kind of changed because inflation raised the cost of some new items. And then we're hoping over time that standard depreciation schedule returns for the aircraft. So without further ado, let's jump to the next page. This is 115% inflation. If you'd like to take a look at valuing aircraft and giving them a little more leeway, 500 hours. Next screen, back to 110% inflation and 1,000 hours. And then there is 115% inflation and 1,000 hours. Back to 110% inflation, 1,500 hours. And the last page here, 115% inflation and 1,500 hours. Feel free to pause, rewind, whatever you need to take a look at those numbers and focus on the aircraft you're looking at. Keep in mind, this is a cross-section of the market we're looking at. This is not all jets, not all helicopters, not all single-engine aircraft, just ones we feel are some of the more common ones and, frankly, the ones that we have experience with. Okay, this week we're going to add the Cirrus Vision jet into our reviews. We candidly don't have a lot of experience with this jet, so bear with us while we dial it in and gain some accuracy, but we do feel we're going to start out of the gate with some decent numbers here. So our valuation for this 2017 here with 1,500 hours, right around 1.345 million. This 2019 with 1,000 hours, right around 1.6 million. And this one over here with, this 2021 with 260 hours, we value right around 2.45 million. So these are 30 to 50% premiums in our humble opinion. What is our justification? Why do we think our values are more realistic? Well, one, take a look at the new selling prices that we've been able to pull up of these aircraft. This 2017 once sold for right around $2 million. Okay, this is a 6 to 7 year old aircraft with 1,500 hours on it. It has to lose more than 200 grand. So we believe there's some justification there. Furthermore, if anybody were offering on this aircraft, they'd probably be offering 1.5, 1.55, because brokers expect you to offer a couple hundred grand less on $1 to $2 million aircraft. Yet it's still here. We've been watching this aircraft for weeks, and so that means they're not getting those offers. So that means the value that people believe this thing is worth is even less than 1.5, 1.55 million. So we think there's some credence to that numbers. And that's kind of how you fall in line here. Take a look at this one. You think people are probably offering maybe 2.1, somewhere around there for that aircraft. And yet in 2019, brand new, it was 2.4. So they're asking over brand new pricing for that aircraft. And so, yeah, maybe you think people are offering 2.1, they'd take it. No one's offering 2.1. That's why it's still here. We believe the value is more closer to 1.6. So take a look at those Cirruses again. Feel free to pause, rewind. We're going to keep moving on. We're starting with the standard depreciation schedule on Cirrus jets at $300,000 a year, $150 a flight hour. We do believe Visions are going to be a little toxic because there's so many of them on the market. So we're giving them a toxic asset adjustment as well. Okay, moving into the Mustang, we've got a great change this week. We're not going to go over the first two aircraft. We've covered those in previous weeks. If you're interested, take a look at them. The aircraft in the middle, still our favorite, the beautiful, the top one, November 1 Romeo Golf, but it's got $300,000 in deferred engine maintenance payments. And so we value that aircraft at $1.8 million because we don't want to pay that bill. On the right side, we got our first major reduction in Mustangs, down $256,000 to $1.999 million. But it's almost got 3,000 hours now. They just updated the hours online to 2,907 hours. Oh, there's not a lot of people that want a 3,000-hour bird. We value that aircraft at $1.735 million. And to catch you up or remind you about the bottom one as well, that's a good price at a 4.1% premium. If there's no stories, we value it at $1.725 million, but we have to believe a lot of people are probably going to be offering right around that. And it's still there, which means people aren't offering that, or they are, and they're getting into pre-buy and finding issues with it. So what's going on? Word on the street is there might be some corrosion issues on that aircraft. So we don't know for sure. Again, this is all our opinion. We're reacting to controller and kind of giving our opinion on pricing. This is just our opinion only. Don't take it for anything other than an opinion. All right, last page of Mustangs. This 2010 by Jetta Viva listed for 2.375. We're not seeing that anymore, so maybe that sold. Maybe the listing expired. We'll see. It was a 25% premium, so I'd be surprised if it did sell. They also just added this one on the bottom recently at a 34.8% premium. 2.7 million bucks for a 2013 Mustang is kind of crazy to me. It does have NXI, which is great, and one of the lower timed Mustangs on the market, but original paint and interior. So not our cup of tea for that price range. We believe it's worth more around 2. And then this 2009 over on the right side, $2,095,000. That's a 19.7% premium, but they did reduce it $100,000. So it is moving in the right direction. They're probably going to get offers 1 to 200 below that. And that's getting close. You get to that 1.75 on that aircraft, in our opinion, that's a good deal. M2s, this first aircraft may have sold. There's not a whole lot of M2s in Europe. And so they might be able to command a 26.8% premium. That's quite possible. We value it at 3.4 million, but look, Europe can pay more money. The euro's got a better exchange rate against the dollar. Other than that, these aircraft are largely unchanged. No real stories that we know of here, but very high premiums. Unless you take a look at that bottom one right now, couple-year-old, 2-year-old M2s are kind of the best, most reasonable deals in terms of pricing, simply because they're more in line with historical norms as it relates to their original selling price and normal depreciation for that particular airframe from what we've seen in history. So we think that bottom aircraft in the bottom right is worth 4.9 million, a 5.1% premium. We think that's a reasonable deal. Everything else is in the double digits on premiums. And we don't believe that 22 on the bottom left sold, because the one in the middle, the 2022, is cheaper and has less hours and a smaller premium, and it's still on the market unless people just don't like flag color schemes. So I think that one on the bottom left might have been pulled. There might not be any sales here. Only time will tell. We'll keep an eye on it for you. No difference on that top left aircraft here from Jetcraft, the M2 at 4.825 million. But the middle one, the 2018 from OCR, was reduced $195,000. And so it's now down to 4.5 million. We still believe that is a 25% premium for that aircraft. We believe it's worth about 3.6 million when the dust settles, the recession hits, and normal depreciation schedules resume for aircraft, or normal depreciation adjustments for the market. This 2015 here on the right from Jet 360 is new. 3.85 is the ask 1,000 hours. We believe that's a 14.9% premium, and the aircraft should actually fetch around 3.35 million when market normalcy returns. Doesn't mean it might not sell for 3.85, but in a year or two, our opinion is it's going to be worth what we're saying it's going to be worth, 3.35 million. We wouldn't want to get caught holding the bag with negative equity in that aircraft on day one, so we'd be looking for a much better price. This one in Germany, 5.25 million, 6% premium. That's not bad. Again, it's a 2021, couple years old. Those are closest and most reasonable and standard with historical norms. We believe that aircraft is worth around 4.95 million. You can probably bridge that gap, especially if you're in Europe, where the euro goes a little further against the dollar. The Honda Jets, not really unchanged. It's APMG. That is one of the first changes from Honda Jet, their first service bulletin change, I believe, added 100 or 200 pounds, a useful load of the aircraft. That aircraft, in our opinion, still struggled with weight issues and being able to carry what it should be with the number of seats that were inside of there. So a lot of these aircraft, I think, are going to sit on the market. The Elite 2, I think, is going to be a really unique aircraft. I think some more are going to pour on here as people are trying to sell their aircraft to move into their Elite 2 positions. And I think that's going to create downward pressure on these jets. We evaluate these aircraft right in the threes to the low 4 on the top left. All these are, 20% premium, with the exception of that APMG on the top right. That is probably the best price on the screen. But again, we don't have a whole lot of experience with Honda Jets. CJ3 Pluses, that 2018 on the top left has been here since we started doing videos. They have not dropped the price, and we think they're probably getting offers in 7.7s, and they would take it. And since they're not taking it and it's still there, they're probably not getting offers at 7.7, which is, again, why we think there's credence to our valuation down around 7.3. We think that's what that aircraft would fetch in the market. This orange and gray one came back on. It's a relist. That's why we don't like to get rid of our items with red X's that we think may have sold or may not have, because sometimes it's a relist. A buyer gets frustrated that a broker's not getting them top dollar or selling their aircraft and changes brokers, or a listing simply expires. So here, this one is coming back online, reduced $300,000 in the teens on premium at 15.6%. We evaluate that aircraft at $6.4 million, our opinion. Other than that, we got a new listing, bottom center, $6.95 million. That's a typo on the premium. We don't actually have a price on that aircraft, so we don't know what it's being listed at, but we evaluate it at 6.95. And on the bottom right, for that 2017, $8.495 million from QS Partners, we evaluate that at 6.875. So pretty high premiums on the CJ3 Pluses, 20-30%. This is abnormal historically. For the more expensive the aircraft gets, the lower premium it can command, because the market shrinks dramatically. Your market of buyers going from 3 million to 6 million. I mean, I'm just throwing a number out there, but it probably drops by 60 to 70%. You go from 6 to 10 million, you probably drop another 50 to 60% on top of that, which means you cannot be commanding these premiums. It's why sometimes you will see 737s and 747s online for selling a couple of $1 million, because no one can afford to even fill them up with gas or run the engines inside of them. They have to give them away. We believe that's the same with these aircraft. Look at these CJ4s, 30%, 42% premiums, 31%. You can come back, pause, come back to this video if you want. We're not going to talk about these prices. In our opinion, are outrageous. The aircraft on the bottom are selling for more than we think they paid for the aircraft new, by substantial sums. We don't think there is a market there for it anymore. We think that day has passed. Phenom 300s, lots of 2012s, 13s, 14s on the market. The Garmin 3000s are what everybody wants. That starts around 2015, and for the most part. And so, you know, anything pre-2015 is kind of toxic to begin with. And that's why we see a lot of these aircraft sitting. Did these two in the left and right in the top sell? We don't know. Those are pretty high premiums, but Phenom 300s were kind of a hot market for a while. Everybody wanted them. Maybe there'll be relistings. We'll see. We'll leave them on for a little while. That one in the middle reduced 150,000, still a 30% premium with 3,600 hours on it. Who wants to spend $8 million for an aircraft with 3,600 hours on it? And all the bottom ones are new ones that we have added, but look at those premiums, 23, 38, 28, not worth talking about. And that is it. That is your cross-section snapshot of the jet market. And adding Cirrus jet this week. So many Cirruses, both the single engine and the jets on the market. What is going to happen with Cirrus? That's a real question for us. Is it going to start putting downward pressure on new orders, on the manufacturer themselves, because the oversaturation of used aircraft in the market? Plus, we're heading into a recession with high interest rates. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are starting to see a lot more reductions, and I think this is the beginning. For those of you that have been patient and are waiting along the sidelines, I think you're personally, in my opinion, making the right decision. I think these reductions are going to continue because there are not enough buyers to support these high prices on this aircraft. And so that's it. We're going to leave you now with a snapshot of controller of that cross-section of aircraft we just discussed. So you can come back, rewind, and see where an aircraft you were interested in was priced at, or listed as, or listed with. This time in history, this Friday, September 29, 2023. Thank you so much for joining us here at Aircraft Global Market Update. We look forward to seeing you in our video next week. Take care.